All right, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Once again, this is Born Again, Raised Again Ministries, and this lesson is entitled Coming Out of Your Days When It Comes to the Sabbath Days, Part 7. Coming Out of Your Days When It Comes to the Sabbath Days, Part 7. All right, so without further ado, let's go to the Gospel according to John chapter 20. Okay, it says, the first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene, early when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre, and seeth the stone taken away from the sepulchre. Then she runneth and cometh to Simon Peter and to the other disciple whom Jesus loved, and saith unto them, They have taken away the Lord out of the sepulchre, and we know not where they have laid him. Peter therefore went forth, and that other disciple, and came to the sepulchre. So they ran both together, and the other disciple did outrun Peter, and came first to the sepulchre. And he, stooping down and looking in, saw the linen clothes lying, yet he went not in. Then cometh Simon Peter following him, and went into the sepulchre, and seeth the linen clothes lie, and the napkin that was about his head, not lying with the linen clothes, but wrapped together in place by itself. Then went in also that other disciple, which came first to the sepulchre, and he saw and believed. For as yet they knew not the scripture that he must rise again from the dead. Then the disciples went away again unto their own home. Okay, so let's drop down to verse 19. Then the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, came Jesus and stood in the midst, and saith unto them, Peace be unto you. And when he had so said, he showed unto them his hands and his side. Then were the disciples glad when they saw the Lord. All right, one more verse. Let's drop down to 26. And after 8 days again, his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. And then came Jesus, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst, and said, Peace be unto you. Okay, now we're going to dismiss a myth real quick. Okay, we're going to dismiss a false doctrine. Now, it's been said, and I've been taught ever since I was a little boy on up to an adult, that the Sabbath day is now changed to the first day of the week, which we know today is Sunday, because that's the day that the Lord rose and showed himself, right? So it was changed for this very reason. That's what I was taught, right? Okay, now what we must understand is John 20:1 says the first day of the week cometh, or the first day of weeks, okay, because we know this was the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The Feast of Unleavened Bread comes right after Passover, then the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, then the day after the Sabbath, which is the first day of the week, but is also known as the first day of weeks, when you start counting weeks up into the day of Pentecost. You count 49 weeks until you get up to, what, 50, okay? So, with that being said, we're going to dismiss something here right from Scripture, okay? And what we're going to dismiss, let me bring this back up here real quick. Be patient with me, y'all. I'm getting better at doing this, okay? The Spirit is with me, so I'm getting better at doing this. Just got to be patient with me. All right. Put it about right there. Okay, so without further ado, okay, it was the first day of the week and it was evening. Now remember, we determined in other lessons that a biblical day in the Torah times was from evening to evening. Okay, according to the Hebrew calendar, according to the Most High, a day starts at evening and a new day begins the next evening. Okay, so it says it was evening, right? So evening in the Greek, as it's written here, is apsios, which means late afternoon or nightfall. Okay, evening in Hebrew is ereb, which means dusk, evening tide, evening or night. Okay, so John 20:1, the first day of the week, cometh Mary Magdalene early when it was yet dark. It was yet dark because what? The day had just started. Okay, the day had just started. She got there in the evening of the Sabbath. right? So in the evening of the Sabbath, it was the next day, which would be the first day of the week. All right. So it was evening. It was the first day of the week. It was the next day. It wasn't early Sunday morning. It was evening, right? The Sabbath had just passed. Okay. So John 20:19, what refers to evening, saying it was the same day. A lot of people can say, okay, we got you right there, preacher. See, it says it was the same day. But we have to remember, apsios in Greek, evening also means late, afternoon, or nightfall. So it also could mean afternoon. So it was still the same day, the Feast of First Fruits, the same day. It just was afternoon. Wasn't the next day yet, right? But it was, dawning toward the next day because the sun was about to go down. It was afternoon, okay, approaching the evening. So it was the same day, the Feast of First Fruits. So the Messiah, as we said before, he did not rise early Sunday morning, right? He didn't stay in the grave resting throughout the whole Sabbath. What actually took place is he rose right before the next day. So he rose a Sabbath day evening or Sabbath day afternoon, shortly right before it was going to get dark and become the next day. He showed himself that he was risen, right? The first of many brethren on the Feast of First Fruits. That's the day he revealed that he was risen. He did not rise Sunday. He revealed himself on the day that we call Sunday, the first day of the week. Okay. Now, there's another doctrine that goes around that says that he actually showed himself to his disciples every Sunday thereafter. Okay, I've heard that too, and I was taught that as well. In verse 26, it says 8 days later. Okay, 8 days later, if he showed himself on what we call now the first day of the week, Sunday, what would 8 days later be? 8 days later would not be another Sunday. Guess what it would be? It would be what we now refer to as Monday. Okay, 8 days later would have been a Monday. So this dismisses the myth that he appeared to his disciples every Sunday after the resurrection. All right. Now, we don't have the time, but check out John 21 verses 1 through 14. Okay, that's when, the Messiah stood on the seashore. They didn't know who he is. He told them to bring the fish that they caught. They grilled the fish. Okay, I will say this briefly. If the Sabbath had been changed to Sunday, wouldn't they have known better and on top of that been rebuked by the Messiah for fishing on the Sabbath day? Because the Messiah is the one that grilled the fish that they caught. He instructed the disciples that it was okay for them to pluck corn on the Sabbath day on the way to the temple. Fishing, however, was an occupation that could have been done the other 6 days of the week. Okay, so that doesn't hold any bearing, right? Acts chapter 1 verses 1 through 3 talks about how the Messiah showed himself to his disciples and others 40 days from the time of the resurrection. Nowhere is it written that those 40 days were on Sundays. Okay, so once again, remember John 20 and 26 squashes that by saying he appeared to them the second time 8 days later. Okay, that squashes that. He did not show himself to them every Sunday. Nothing is mentioned about the Sabbath day being changed to Sunday. It's just a tradition that was started, and we're going to learn where this tradition actually came from here shortly within this very lesson. All right, but it was not changed from the seventh day of the week to the first day of the week due to the resurrection or due to anything else that the Messiah spoke or anything else that was written by the apostles. Okay, moving on. Okay, so many talk about different councils. Okay, I'm sure y'all can see that. Council of Nicaea, Council of Laodicea, right? Okay, so let's go to the Council of Laodicea. Okay, the Council of Laodicea was a council in 363 through 364 AD, also known as, I would say CE, Common Era, right? This council was led by Roman Emperor Javian as the war with Persia ended with Rome unfavorably. The church fathers, the Roman Catholics, decided what day was to be declared the Sabbath day, and what book should be part of what we call today the Bible. Okay, the 95 theses were not posted until 1517 by the Catholic monk Martin Luther, and these began the formation of the Protestant churches, from where we get modern day Christian denominations, from those churches that protested, right, against the Catholic Church were some things that they didn't agree with. So we didn't get that disagreement until 1517. So between 363 and 364, Common Era, the Council of Laodicea, that's where some things were changed. And we're going to talk exactly about what was changed in that council. I'm going to bring it up here. Okay, the Council of Laodicea, right? And I'm going to go backwards for a reason. There were several canons in the Council of Laodicea. Okay, we're going to start with canon number 38. Canon number 38 said, and still says, it is not lawful to receive unleavened bread from the Jews, nor to be partakers of their impiety. What is impiety? Impiety is lack of reverence, especially for God. So these men in the Council of Laodicea said that now it's against the law to receive unleavened bread from the Jews, right? Which really you could put in there in place of Jews, Israelites. So it's not lawful to receive unleavened bread from the Israelites, nor to be partakers of their impiety. Okay. Where were the Israelites showing impiety? Lack of reverence, especially for God. Okay. Coming together for the feast days were one of the ways that they were showing that they did reverence the Most High. They did obey him. They were keeping the commandments. That was one of the purposes coming together for the Feast of Unleavened Bread, because all those feast days had meaning. Okay. The Messiah came to fulfill not all, but the majority of those feast days, right? So how are they showing lack of reverence when the Messiah kept the feast days himself? If we're going to follow him, we do everything that he did, right? Didn't he keep the feast days? Yes, absolutely he did. Okay, absolutely he did. He kept exactly what he instituted. All right. So that's canon 38, where they made it a law to receive unleavened bread from the Israelites. Okay. Canon 37 says, it is not lawful to receive portions sent from the feast of Jews or heretics, nor to feast together with them. So they saying it's against the law. They made a law that will be unlawful to receive portions sent from the feast of the Jews or heretics, or to feast together with them. So to be against the law, if you were caught feasting with an Israelite, if you were caught on the day of Pentecost, unleavened bread, first fruits, Pentecost, okay, tabernacles, the Feast of Tabernacles, the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, the day of the Feast of Trumpets. If you were caught feasting with the Israelites, you were in trouble because you was doing something that was against the law. Okay. And the last one, Canon 29, says that Christians must not Judaize by resting on the Sabbath, but must work on that day, rather honoring the Lord's Day. What day did they call the Lord's Day? The Lord's Day was actually would be the Sabbath day. But guess what? They changed the Lord's Day to the first day of the week. What we know today as Sunday. Okay. And if they can, resting then as Christians. But if any shall be found to be Judaizers, how are you found to be a Judaizer? By resting on the Sabbath and not honoring the day. So if you found to be a Judaizer, let them be anathema, which means curse from Christ. This is what man says. This didn't come divinely. This is what man says. Well, why would the Most High send this forth, and this goes directly against his word? Okay, if he says that he created everything in 6 days, and on the seventh day, since he took a break and saw that everything he made was good, looked back over everything and saw that it was good, and that we're supposed to do the same thing, take our rest from our works, why would he tell us and put on the hearts of man to say that we're not supposed to rest on that day anymore, but we're supposed to rest on the first day of the week, because now that's the Lord's day? Doesn't make any sense, does it? No, because it's all man-made. It's all inspired from wickedness, from darkness. Okay? So a couple of more things before we wrap up here. Key facts about the Council of Laodicea. And this is all historically taken, y'all. This is nothing that I put together my, self. The Spirit gave it to me to put this lesson together. But this is nothing, no made up history. I would never do that. Like I said, I'm not going to hell for nobody. All right. So I'm not making my story. I'm speaking true his story here. Okay. So key facts about the Council of Laodicea. It says the Laodicea Council was referred to as a regional synod that was composed of 30 clerics, all coming from Asia Minor. They all gathered in Laodicea, especially in Phrygia and Pakatia, from the year 363 to 364 Common Era. Moreover, the council commenced after the Roman and Persian War, which was waged by the last of the Constantinian emperor named Julian. He aimed to revive the practice of paganism in the empire while discriminating and punishing Christians. Okay? This is what it says as it's written historically. According to researchers, the 59th canon put restrictions on the canonical books, including the Old and New Testament. Then the 60th canon provided a list of all the books, where the New Testament consisted of 26 books, not including the Apocalypse or Book of Revelation. On the other hand, there were 22 books in the Old Testament, which was also made up of the 22 scriptures of the Hebrew version of the Bible. Also included in the Old Testament were the Epistle of Jeremy, as well as the book of the prophet Baruch. Okay, so key facts about the Council of Laodicea. Man determined, nowhere is it mentioned they were divinely inspired, divinely instructed, anything like that. No mention of messenger angels speaking to them. No mention of the Spirit speaking to them. No mention of the resurrected Messiah coming to visit and speak to them. They just got together and they felt that they were going to set up what they would call the Bible, right? The way that they felt that they should have it set up. Okay. Now, to determine and to end this lesson, let me just say this last thing. There's two things when it comes to the creator of all, who has all power in his hand. He is all powerful, right? Two things when it comes to him. Okay, it's what he either allows or what he orchestrates. It's either what he orchestrates or what he allows. He allowed man to do this for his specific reasons. I don't feel led to talk about that right now. As a prophet, some things have been revealed to me about why the master, did what he did, does what he does. Okay, I'm not led to talk about that right now. But these changes, they were allowed. Okay? They were allowed. He allowed these changes to take place. For such a time as this, such a day as this. It says in the last days, right? The mysteries will be revealed. It says in the last days, knowledge would increase. And man will run to and fro with that knowledge. We have this knowledge now because it's the last days. Since we have this knowledge now, those who care to listen and those who don't take heed, you're going to be judged for that. Okay? The people, the forefathers before, they didn't know. Or those that did know, they kept things hidden. So this information that was hidden from the masses, right? Not even spoken to as prophets because it was not the time. Those ones before, they're not going to be judged for it. But those of you who are hearing today and receiving this today, receive this, please. This is the truth. I'm not going to put no lies out there. I'm not a false prophet. I'm not a false teacher. I don't have time to be, trying to enjoy myself now thinking that, I'm doing this for clout. I'm doing this for fans. I'm doing this for money. I'm doing this for popularity. No, I haven't received none of that. None of that. I haven't got a dime or a penny for any of these videos that I put out here. I'm not doing this for money. I'm surely not doing it for clout. Right now I'm not doing a good job putting these videos together because that's not really me. All right. I'm not a techie type person, but I'm doing the best I can and I'm being obedient and putting it out there. no matter how it sounds, no matter if I don't pronounce something the way a theologian says I should properly pronounce or announce it. All right, Doc? Okay? But I'm just putting this out here. So receive this as the truth, because that's exactly what it is. This is the truth, y'all. This is the truth. So with that being said, once again, this is Baram. Born Again, Raised Again Ministries. This is the Sabbath day. Have a blessed Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.